I was trained as a visual artist, basically as a painter. I originally got into art. I was going to be a comic book artist. And that went by the wayside when I did go to art school, in part because it was kind of the only answer I had for what are you going to do with an art degree. As I discovered what else I could do with an art degree, I kind of moved into just practicing as a fine artist. It really kind of made a lot of sense in terms of thinking about what an image can communicate, what text can communicate, how they can inflect on each other, and also create something that's a little bit more kind of holistic and encaptures a broader sort of experience of being a human.
My interest in your work is because I am really interested in word and image and how those two media contribute to storytelling. The versatility of the form is really important to me, and because your own work is directly related with the two big questions of life, sex and death, sex for the talk and death for 36 days. I think that having a graphic novel enter the conversation about death and dying and illness is somewhat brings new aspects to that human experience rather than just novels or just art.
I moved into making drawings and the sort of illustrated and then graphic novels and kind of bringing in language, in part in reaction to my father's passing and the kind of 36 days he spent in the hospital. And I kind of was reflecting on that, and drawing for me is a more kind of intimate, immediate way of kind of thinking things through and expressing.
It is a very personal story, and yet it's so universal as well.
And often those two things are going to go together, right? Like a thing I talk about with students often is the way in which they want to create work that is very open and universal and will apply to things. And there's an interesting sort of paradox or irony that happens where, like, if we get really specific and honest about our own experiences, a lot of times those are the moments that other people can kind of recognize or project themselves into.
Very often, books with illustrations are seen as not adult, Well, if you knew how to read, why would you have pictures in a book, kind of thing? And yet that's, in terms of us being whole human beings that have both visual, linguistic aspects of our experience, it seems such a waste to kind of not involve one big faculty that can, tell so many stories in different ways. There's a sense of empathy that I think, a work like 36 Days or even the talk, kind of elicits from the reader. That is particularly important perhaps today in medical sciences and the health field. Because I think normally when you're in the middle of a health system dealing with crisis, the primary experience is that of passivity, right? You're there, your body is being worked on, and you don't have control. And I think there's something about stories like yours that actually reappropriate agency from that experience.
Thanks. It was great to also read a couple of your articles and think about, like, in a very formal, thoughtful way, how artists are making these decisions about how to include text and structure and language in something that they're going to share. I was thinking again about the book review that you had written, where you were analyzing the structure of the Sendak book. Until I read your article, I didn't realize that the inspiration for the author, for Maurice Sendak, was the dog having passed, that this was a kind of a tribute to a beloved family member in a way. What was kind of interesting for you about, like, that particular piece, or the idea of, like, because I know you also write a lot about theater, and there is again that kind of combination of a visual element and a literary element.
Yeah, I think for me, the dual media storytelling, whether in theater where you're speaking the words, but your body is also being interpreted. There's a visual aspect of it that is so important. And I like the flexibility of that, the ability to do various things with the kind of information your eyes are receiving as you're watching or reading the book versus what your brain, cognitively is interpreting the words, kind of thing. And I think with the theater as well as the picture books, I think that interest certainly coincides with each other, because I think that's one of the big things that tells us why art and humanities and science need to go together. Science is all about finding answers, but the actual experience is full of uncertainty, and it's like about never finding answers.
One of the things that is kind of wonderful about academia and the education system is that it does allow for a level of specialization that is important, right? We need people who have gone very deeply into a specific topic so that they can make new discoveries. What we don't do a lot these days, though, is sort of talk to each other, first of all, but also think about what are the opportunities to sort of make connections across disciplines, and think about how can an artist help a scientist, how can a scientist help an artist.